Wai died shortly after his birth. When Prince Siddhartha was a few days old, the holy man perceived the prince would be either a great military conqueror or a great spiritual teacher. King Siddhartha preferred the first outcome and prepared his son accordingly. He raised the boy in great luxury and shielded him from knowledge of religion and human suffering. The prince reached out the age of 29 with little experience of the world outside the walls of his opulent palace. Before passing sight, one day, overcome with curiosity, Prince Siddhartha asked the charioteer to take him on a series of rides through the countryside. On these journeys, he was shocked by the sight of an aged man, then a sick man, and then a corpse. The stark realities of old age, disease, and death pleased and sickened the prince. Finally, he saw a wandering ascetic. The charioteer explained that ascetic was one who had renounced the world and sought release from fear of death and suffering. The renunciation. For a time the prince returned to palace life, but he took no pleasure in it. Even the news that his wife Yasodhara had given birth to a son did not please him. The child was called Rahula, which means better. One night he wandered the palace alone. The luxuries that had once pleased him now seemed brought sick. Musicians and dancing girls had fallen asleep and were sprawled about, snoring and sputtering. Prince Siddhartha reflected on the old age, disease, and death that would overtake them all and turn their bodies to dust. He realized that he could no longer be content living the life of a prince. That very night he left the palace, shaved his head, and changed his prince clothes for a beggar's robe. Then he began his quest for enlightenment. Siddhartha began by seeking out renowned teachers. He taught him about the many religious philosophies of his day as well as how to meditate. But after he had learned all they had to teach, his doubts that the question remained. So he and 5 disciples left to find enlightenment by themselves. The 6 companions attempted to find release from suffering through physical discipline, enduring pain, holding their breath, fasting nearly to starvation. Yet Siddhartha was still unsatisfied. It occurred to him that in renouncing pleasure he had grasped pleasure's opposite, pain and self-mortification. Now Siddhartha considered a middle way between those 2 extremes. He remembered an experience from his childhood when his mind had settled into a state of deep peace. The path of liberation was through discipline of mind. He realized that instead of starvation, he needed nourishment to build up strength for the effort. So when he accepted a bowl of rice milk from a young girl, his companion assumed he had given up the quest and abandoned him. The enlightenment of the Buddha. Siddhartha sat beneath a sacred fig known ever after as the Buddha tree and settled into meditation. The work of Siddhartha's mind came to be mythologized as a great battle with Mara, a demon whose name means destruction and who represents the passion that snare and greed earth. Mara brought vast armies of monsters to attack Siddhartha. He sat still and untouched. Mara's most beautiful daughter tried to seduce Siddhartha, but his effort has also failed. Finally, Mara claimed the seat of enlightenment rightfully belonged to him. Mara's spiritual accomplishments were greater than Siddhartha's, the demon said. Mara's monstrous soldiers cried out together. I am his witness. Mara challenged Siddhartha, who was displeased. Then Siddhartha reached out his right hand to touch the earth, and the earth itself roared. I bear you witness. Mara disappeared, and as the morning star rose in the sky, Siddhartha Gautama realized the enlightenment and became a Buddha. The teacher. At first the Buddha was reluctant to teach because what he had realized could not be communicated in words. Only through discipline and clarity of mind would delusions fall away and the great reality could be directly experience. Listeners without that direct experience will be stuck in constant collusion and would surely misunderstand everything he said. But compassion persuades him to make the attempt. After his enlightenment, he went to the deer park in Istana, located in what is now the province of India. There he found the five companions who had abandoned him, and to them he preached the first sermon. The sermon had been preserved as the Dhammapada and centered on the fourth noble truth. Instead of teaching doctrines about enlightenment, the Buddha took to prescribe a path of practice through which people can realize enlightenment for themselves. The Buddha devoted himself to teaching, attracting hundreds of followers. Eventually, he became counselor with his father, King Siddhartha. His wife, the devoted Yasodhara, became a nun and a disciple. Rahula, his son, became a novice monk at the age of 7 and spent the rest of his life with his father. Last words. The Buddha tirelessly traveled and taught his death at age 80. His last words to his followers: "Behold, O monks, this is my last advice to you. All component things in the world are changeable. They are not lasting. Work hard to gain your own salvation."
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.